change my audio source here. Um, I don't see an option for that. Well, it looks like I don't have the option to change through. Anyway, we're going through my AirPods right now, so it will sound a little grainy. Sorry about that. Um, Let me go ahead and share my screen. We've got, starting off from where we left off yesterday, we were able to get this working just in the browser that's not connected to anything. Based off of this, I had the idea last night that um, I had an idea for how to make this much simpler. The idea, excuse me, is to we'll have these two different modes, or yeah, we'll have these two different modes. One is um, pure random mode, which is where we're just clicking here and it's just randomly generating between uh, different uh, range of numbers. And then the next, once you hit next, after a certain amount of time, probably 2 seconds, there will be a uh, um, there will be a shift, and the logic, instead of generating it in the browser, will then reach out to uh, a Firebase Cloud function, and then that will generate the actual next random number, which will be generated off of. Let's see if I can pull it up. This should be coding. It will be generated off of. Pull out some of these. Okay, I think that's all we need. Yeah. Mhm. Go ahead and close those out. Um, this random number will be generated after a certain amount of time instead of inside the browser on a uh, set state. It'll be generated off of this control, everything in here, and that Cloud function will reach out and check the database based on that. Otherwise, we'll just continue going off of this. On the actual page load is where we'll do that database call um, to check Firebase to see uh, what the delay is and then what the number range is. So if you change the number range or the delay after you load this page, that's not going to get saved, or it's not going to get reflected. You'll have to reload the page, which I think that's a fine side effect to have. Um, and then that timer basically will just, every time you hit next, um, once that certain time is up. Oh, is that Miller? Yo, dude. Um, anyway, once that certain time is up, then we'll go back to this. All right, that was my friend Miller. Good to see you. Have a good day. Um, yeah, you're probably not going to want to stay this. Oh, I'll message my buddy. Yeah, he's probably not going to want to stay for this. Is going to be super boring. But trying to figure out exactly what to do next. So let's pull up the editor and we'll pull this over to the other screen. All right, get this fired up here. And let's see here. I think we'll um, start off with that timer function. The way I had this set up in Angular was I had a originally had set timeout in JavaScript, but I don't think, or I guess set interval. Sorry, um, I don't think that was very good. So I will do two quick things here. One, um, we'll open up MDN and look up set timeout, and then MDM set interval. Uh, and I might as well do a YouTube set timeout versus set interval. Just to catch myself back up on what both of those do, because I kind of forget. Um, I don't think that they're going to be super reliable, and I would prefer to use something like um, this is actually currently not deployed, even though it is in master. Something like the behavior subject, so I can do where did it go? A debounce, because more or less what I'm doing here on this number generator page, it's basically a debounce. As soon as I type in to, as a user, if I was searching something, I would type into a search box, there'd be a small debounce time, and then it would fire off that call to like fuzzy match your search or something like that. That's basically what I'm doing here. I'm hitting next, and then there should be a debounce time, and then down here in the corner, which you guys can't see because my video is covering it right here. Wonder if there's a way for me to switch my video to like the other side. Mm, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I wish I could live stream on YouTube, but do it from a different, like, use my own, uh, use my own recorder software because I would much rather use CleanShot, which is specifically on Mac. I don't know where I'm getting clean lots from. CleanShot X. Yeah, this is best software ever. Super good. It is, I think there's a free version. Maybe there's not. Maybe it is just pay, but it's like pay for a license. So you pay for like the current version of it. And then if you don't want to upgrade the next year when they do a new version, you don't have to. And they still do updates throughout the year. So I paid for it last year, 2023. They did a few small like bug fixes and updates throughout the year. And then for 2024, um, they released a couple new like larger features and stuff. They still released larger features in 2023 when I'd already paid for my license, so that was kind of cool. But they were just doing a lot of refinement. It was kind of like iOS. iOS pushes out changes during the year, but then when they release their new iOS, there's some big features. So you can think about it like that. Like you could pay for iOS, one of the older versions, and just never pay for a new version, and you'd still be fine. Like you might be missing out on some certain bug fixes or some features, but you're gonna be fine. Um, if you don't want to pay every year. But yeah, it's a non-subscription, so that's nice. So CleanShot, honestly, super good. Highly recommend it. If you don't want to do, there's also one called Shotter. Yeah. This is also pretty solid and it's free. Um, so anyway, highly recommend any of those. Uh, what was I thinking? Uh, kind of got. Oh yeah, that was I got off on that tangent because I was looking at my um, video recording screen. Okay. Um, we will go uh, back to this. We were setting up. Oh yeah, we were trying to figure out what was the best way to do this timer type thing down. You guys can't see that down here on that little uh, box. So let's quickly read over set timeout and set interval. Um, yeah, and then we'll probably watch one of these bad boys. Um, Probably this one, Free Code Camp, is usually super good. So we'll add that to the queue, and let's see here. This guy. Oh wait, but Code Stacker is really good. That's 4 years ago. We'll do those. Add that to the bottom. If we want to watch it, we can. These are all really short, so we'll probably watch all of them. Okay. Set interval, which is what I'm using, is a method of the window interface, meaning browser window, repeatedly calls a function or executes a code snippet with a fixed time delay in between each call. You know what? I bet you that's why I was having so many issues. So there's a lot of issues with this code um, in production. This is the current version. This is the new version that I have in Next.js, but this is what I have in Angular, as you can see the little Angular symbol over here. There's a lot of bugs with how often that little dot shows up. Like right now, it's not even there. It should be there because I clicked on it and it's been more than 2 seconds. But I don't know why I have set interval because that means that this is just going to keep running every few, yeah, with a fixed time delay, repeatedly calls the function with a fixed time delay in between each call. And set countdown is going to set a new interval every single time. Counter is seconds. We pass the seconds in, and then once it hits below, we clear the interval. I guess that could work. 1,000. Excuse me. Anyway, I can see how that can get a little weird. Set timeout, I think, just is the same thing as interval, but only for a short amount of time, or only once. Sets a timer which executes a function or specified piece of code once the timer expires. Yeah. Whereas my interval, okay, so I guess this would clear it once it hits 0. Only problem is I think set countdown gets called every single time we generate a new random number. And so we're, yeah, so and I think set interval is gonna, this is gonna get held in memory. And so if I clicked it a bunch of times, I'm gonna have a bunch of set intervals kicked off all at once. Function to be executed after the timer expires. An alternate syntax. Oh, an alternate syntax that allows you to include a string instead of a function. Interesting. Okay. Which is compiled and executed. Syntax is not recommended for the same. Oh, okay. So I could just include a string of code in there instead of a function. Probably most of the time we're going to use a function. And then the delay. Call this one repeatedly. Use set timeout. It's asynchronous, so it just gets like the code doesn't stop for it. So that makes sense. That third message comes first. Oh, because it's I see here. First message, we're queuing them all up, but the second they hit off, this timer starts. And so these will all get queued up in a matter of milliseconds, all around the same time. And then this last set timeout will finish first, hence the third. Notice the first section does not create a 5-second pause before calling the second function. It runs down everything and each of them that get queued off onto their own. And then the JavaScript uh, lifecycle loop. Um, life, oops. Wow. Cycle. Oh, event loop. That's what I was thinking. There is a really good visual of this somewhere. This is kind of what I was thinking of. Mm, Hmm. Yeah, here we go. So you've got the event loop, which is going to pull in new operations. So the call stack, new operation if the call stack is empty. So we've got the event queue to be ran by the event. We've got the call stack, which every time, no. Anyway, I don't understand this fully, but there was a really good, um, what the heck is the event loop anyway? That's what I was thinking of. It's a really good talk that I watched a while ago, and I just didn't really fully understand it. Um, maybe I can pull up his visual for this. I don't need a political ad. Anyway, I'm getting really off topic here. New pass method just says invoked with a this value made different from your. Oh, code executed by set timeout is called in this execution context separate from the function, which it was called. So basically, it's saying this won't work very well because everything that is inside of the set interval when it actually gets called, it may not be in the same context that this is referring to. So I think that's why I was having so many issues. Is because set interval, we should not use that. We should be using a debounce type setup, um, which is what I started to do up here with this behavior subject. It would be called every single time you click on the generate button, and when it did get called, next, every time we call it, we call the next function on that tracker. So we'd the user would click on it again, it would fire off another event saying it was called, meaning we call the next method, and then we pass in that app mode that we're currently in, or yeah, that we're currently in. Which uh, it if we loaded the page and it's been less than 2 seconds, uh, it, it'll just be in the regular random mode. That gets sent through the pipe here, and we have this debounce time. And this is just debouncing for the random mode delay, which is that delay that we would have here. So every single time a event gets called, it starts to go through this pipe, and then it waits here for a certain time amount of time. If we pass that 2-second threshold after someone has fired off the next event, clicking on the next thing, which we wouldn't if someone just kept clicking on it. So if I clicked on it and was like, see, um, it's random. Click on it, click on it. Each time we're clicking on this, we're not passing that 2-second threshold, which means we're not getting past this debounce time, which means every single time it loads up, um, it's pulling the mode, uh, the last mode every single time we click this, and we when it's less than 2 seconds, it's using the last known mode, the current mode in memory, which is going to be random. But as soon as we wait for more than 2 seconds, or whatever this delay is that we define here, um, we pass, we get past this debounce, and then we go into this subscribe, which is where we take the mode that we're currently um, in, or sorry, we're taking the next force mode, which is this. So there's the default, which is just always random, and then there's the you've got like default, and that only has random mode, and then you've got forced or planned or whatever, and that can have lots of different modes, even, odd, a certain number forced, whatever. Um, and when that happens, then yeah, when that happens, then um, that is when, let me pull up. When we switch over from the default mode where you just got, or sorry, when you switch over from the default mode over here, where it's just always running random, and you go over into the forced mode, that's where we're controlling uh, what mode or that's where we're looking up what mode we have here in the database. And in that, it, in this context, sorry, it's kind of confusing because I'm looking at a mirror image. This is my right hand, but in the picture, it's my left hand. And this, after the 2 seconds in this mode, I keep calling it mode. In this context, we're looking for this mode right here, and we're looking to see what that is. That was very roundabout. Anyway, after that 2 seconds is up, that mode that we looked up in the database will then be set here. Next app generate mode. Next force app generate mode. So we set that, and then we turn on the pixel to show to the user that it got set. So, um, yeah, I think what we'll do next is um, set interval, set timeout isn't great. Let me read a little bit more and set timeout. Additional arguments to be passed to the function once the timer expires. Interesting. It may be helpful to be aware that set interval and set timeout share the same pool of IDs, and clear interval and clear timeout can technically be used interchangeable. For clarity, however, you should try and always match them to avoid confusion when maintaining your code. Delay argument is converted to a 32-bit integer. This effectively limits delay to this many milliseconds, which is roughly 24 and a half days. I say and a half because I don't know why you'd go to 24.8. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why I used set interval because, or set interval or set timeout, because every time I hit, I guess sleep is fine because I'm gonna be waiting. I think I wait on it. Sleep. Yeah, I do await it. Set timeout returns JS timeout. But this set interval doesn't make any sense because now I'm newing up a bunch of those every time I click the countdown. So debounce is the way to go. We'll quickly watch these 3 videos just to make sure I understand set timeout, set interval correctly, and then we'll look up JavaScript React debounce. Let's see here. We're at 26 minutes. Based on my schedule today, we're gonna watch this and then we're gonna stop. I will probably doing a second live later today, and then another half an hour to make up that full hour, and then that'll be done for the day. Also, I have to go to the bathroom really bad, so another reason for ending a little earlier than normal. I think I'll change this, or yeah, my next live will just be called not so random number generator part 4.5, since this isn't a full hour part. Let me switch this to just the tabs so you guys can hear the audio. Yeah. This is frustrating. I've been at this for half an hour and I haven't actually put any code down.
Want a new career but don't have experience?
Prior to the Google UX design certificate, I didn't have any experience.
There are 2 times
I should really consider getting YouTube Red or the premium so that I don't have to watch ads with how often I'm on YouTube. Anyway.
timing events that are part of the window object that both allow execution of code at specific time
I'm going to speed this up at 1.5, but feel free to watch it slower if you need to.
intervals. The 2 timing events are set timeout and set interval. For set timeout, you pass in a function in milliseconds, and the program will wait the specified number of milliseconds and execute the function. Let's see some code. Okay, here's the set timeout function. It could be window.setTimeout, but the window is implied. You pass in the name of the function, which is by, and then here's the function down here. You also pass in the milliseconds here. So after 3,000 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds, it's going to run the function by, which is just going to console.log goodbye. But before that, it's going to console.log hello. So let's run that. 1, 2, 3. So you saw it said hello and then goodbye. It is possible to stop the function from running after the set timeout is called. You must assign the set timeout to a variable. So we'll do var. So we've set that to var timeout ID, and then we're going to call clear timeout and pass in the variable. So let's try that. It's going to say hello, but it will never say goodbye because we've cleared the timeout. The set interval function is similar. You pass in a function in milliseconds, but the program will execute the function continuously, waiting the specified number of milliseconds between each function. Here, we're creating a timer. We're going to set the count to 0, and we're going to call set interval, pass in the counter function, and 1,000 milliseconds. That's 1 second. So every 1 second, it's going to call this counter function, where it's going to log count. It's also going to increment count 1. And we're going to set it to an int ID. Up here, I already have a button. So in the button, we have an onClick event that says clear interval with an int ID. The int ID is down there. We can stop the timer by clicking the stop timer button, and it won't go on forever. So let's run that and see how that works. Well, you can see it's counting every second. But if I click the stop time button, it stops. So clear interval just stops the function in the set interval from running. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. My name is Bo Carnes. Don't forget.
So I think if we wanted to fix our previous implementation, every time we click on next, that just queued up 3 set timeouts, and each of them are going to set a different. Each of them are going to set non-random mode to true, which means every single time we click it, right? We click it, we wait a little bit, and then we click it again. That means we're setting that the number of things that get queued up get pushed further and further out in like real time. So if I sit there and I click it 17 times and then I wait 2 seconds, um, and then I click it, I'll get the output that I wanted of it being a random output or a forced random output. But then if I click it again, I still have queued up all of these set intervals. And so when I click it again after I've forced that mode, and I expect it to go back to random because it's been over 2 seconds. I've clicked it again, which means it would have gone to uh, here, check the mode, and then force something. It's not going to do that now. It's not going to go back to random because I've queued up all these set intervals. So that's what was happening. So really, I should be anytime I click, I should be storing these set intervals IDs in like a list, and then anytime I click on countdown, I should be calling clear timeout on the last one that I set, or I guess on a list that I set. No, but that seems really messy, and so I will probably just do something like the debounce with RxJS. It's so much cleaner. It makes so much more sense.
Get to subscribe, and remember, use your code for good.
We'll watch the rest of these videos and I'll call it a day.
In JavaScript, set timeout and set interval are used to time execution of code at specific intervals. The set timeout method calls a function after a specified number of milliseconds. Additional parameters can also be passed to the function. Here, we can use an arrow function to console log hello after 3000 milliseconds or 3 seconds. Alternatively, we can write it like this, calling a function defined below after 3 seconds. We can also pass parameters to the function like this. The function can then use the argument during execution. We can also choose to cancel the set time.
The reason why we're specifying the function and the parameters is because if we maybe we don't want to invoke this right away. We're just passing the reference to the function.
Timeout before it is called. Here we are.
Same thing that's done in React. A lot of the times with like onClick, we just pass the name of the function, but we don't actually pass the parentheses because otherwise that would invoke the function inline.
Determining if something is true, and if so, we're going to clear the timeout. Notice that we must assign the timeout to a variable so that we have something to reference in our clear timeout. Now the function will not run at all. The set interval method is very similar, except it will run continually until it is either cleared or the window is closed. It too can accept additional parameters to be passed to the function. So here we can console log hello every 3 seconds. A better use would be a counter. Here we're setting a counter variable to 0. Then we set up our set interval, and it will call the function count every second. Count will then log the counter and increment it by 1. This will run every second indefinitely. So we probably want to stop it at some point. First, we need to assign the set interval.
I wonder if I open up console. Yeah, app is in non-random mode. It just keeps getting ran over and over and over again. Nice. I'm not sure why it's not calling the app is in non-random mode all of a sudden. But now it did. Yeah, anyway, bunch of weird stuff.
Interval to a variable.
I think we got it. I'm gonna go ahead and call it. See you guys.